Hello and welcome back to Processing the Process, where we capture and discuss the technical, psychological, and contextual dynamics that shape the process of creating a work of art. Week by week, moment by moment, we're following Allie K. Dakers, teacher, actor, director, and producer, as she shapes the development of her innovative middle school drama club and guides her students' idiosyncratic artistic journeys. Today, we will be focusing on 3 workshops in preparation for the showcase, which took place on May 8th, May 10th, and May 13th. So we will go in order, beginning with the Wednesday, May 8th workshop. And most of the kids attended, but there were no mentors. So the kids really had to operate pretty independently as Allie went from group to group. And they really took the helm nicely and did what they needed to do. So kudos to the kids for that period of time. And then Allie started a discussion in which she reiterated and reinforced the discussion she had previously had with the kids. Essentially this is where we are, this is where we need to be, this is how much time we have to get there. So she really emphasized once again that the showcase is completely up to them in terms of its quality and virtually any element having to do with it. And Allie reminded them that there is always something to be done. So there is never idle time in the theater. Now, the kids made more progress on casting, and in fact, there are a number of club members who are in more than one scene. Allie, what are the implications of that on a practical level?
Yeah, on a practical level, it really is a matter of keeping track of scene order. I mean, that's like the basic level right there in terms of the run of the showcase. If I have like so many kids and they're in 3 scenes, I don't want to put those 3 scenes in a row because I'm going to have kids scrambling trying to get into them. We may very well have a lot of scrambling anyway. That's part of kind of what's going to end up happening. But especially for like greener actors, younger actors, I want to give them space between. Maybe they have a quick change. Maybe they really are quite nervous. We'll see what happens, that they have to kind of be able to balance multiple roles back to back. I don't want to put them in that position if I don't feel they're ready. Other actors, members, potentially they can handle that. But I definitely have to be keeping track of that. And I also, I want to figure out too what we're going to be doing for like the opening as well, because if we do need, like if it just shakes out where all these kids are in so many scenes and I have to create space between them to account for these changes that these kids may have to endure or go through, I then have to get creative. What am I going to do between the scenes if just a scene change is really not enough, if I really need to stretch that time? So we were talking about, as a group with the kids, potential opening ideas, and maybe carry some of the opening scene into the in-between scenes. So if we have our opening, which we're hoping to have be this like pitch meeting kind of drama club idea, with this competition theme that we've been seeing, maybe pepper in a couple of kids crossing. Well, my scene, that was pretty great, but wait till you see the next one. Things like that to kind of stretch it. So those are the kinds of technical, practical things that I'm thinking of with this issue on hand.
Okay, and following this discussion, Allie chose to lead the warm-up herself to really set the tone for the day, and the 2 words she told me really described it were being militant and on task.
I was quite the taskmaster that day.
And sure enough, right afterwards, the scene groups went right to work. So Allie, can you tell us what the groups accomplished in this particular session?
Well, we've done a lot of talking about the opening scene. Still haven't done it yet. They know it's coming, but they got to get their scenes done first. So let's see. So the audition, that scene, blocked, rehearsed, looking great. They're working on their tech design needs, though. They didn't have all of their members there, but they had enough. Again, this is the scene too where they're kind of, it's like very jigsaw puzzly. Groups are doing what they need to do separately, and I know it's going to come together really well. I know the actors, I know the members, I know that it's a really supportive group too. So the greener kids are being really well supported in that particular group, which is helpful.
Great.
Yeah. So they're blocked, they're rehearsed, they're working on their tech design needs now. They're doing a good job. So I'm happy with that one. The game show, they did solve some cast issues. We had some issues of some kids leaving, some kids going. We weren't sure who was going to play what part. Maybe we had to shake it out. Maybe we couldn't get enough kids to fill the roles. They've told me now that they have solved their problems. So that's good news. We can actually see what this scene's going to actually become. But I think we talked about last time with this show is I don't know that the kids are fully grasping the opportunity that they have here for characterization. I mean, they have half their cast are robots. Like, there's so much you can do with that. So what I may be doing is pulling them for some kind of a workshop during that, maybe during a lunchtime or during an after school, like one of those 20-minute blocks that we have at the end of the day, to do a little workshop for characterization, to kind of open their mind a little bit, let them see the opportunity that they have here to create something really original and really playful and really, bizarre and silly and all of that too. So we have our foiled grandma scene. They finished their script. They're fully cast. They're thinking about design needs. So this one's rolling, and I'm happy at this point in time. Like,
okay, we'll take it.
We'll take it. Open mic night. That's the 3 boys. They're doing the comedy routine. Fantastic. They're fully blocked. They're memorized. They're doing a great job. They've been doing really well balancing too, because they're all 3. They're in sports after school, so they've been coming to me after the sports are done. They've assured me that they've been talking about it and playing with it, and I think they really enjoy it. And it is very self-contained amongst themselves, so they can really kind of work on that whenever, and I do believe that they have it. Based on what I'm seeing, it looks like they're not like only thinking about it in meetings, which is a good thing. Right. They're a little older too. They're veterans, so that doesn't surprise me, and I'm proud of them for that, because that was, I want to see this one do well. I think they're going to have a good time with that one. So let's see. We have Hunger Games. Okay, we did not have a PETA. Right? We have a PETA. We have a PETA. The boy who we all wanted, all the writers, I wanted him to do this, all of us, we went to him, we pleaded with him. We're like, listen, what if we give you a really nice clipboard with your Pan Hunger Games logo on it, and we just put your script right there. So I'm not against giving a kid a tool if it's going to help him or her succeed. And if it's not impacting, I'm not going to have a kid sobbing backstage because they're forgetting their lines. I want to give them everything that they need to be successful. We're all at different stages. They're all learning in different ways, so if it's going to help him, especially if he's literally, he made a responsible kind of statement where I don't know that I'm going to have the time to be fully prepared. Well, he knew what he needed or what he was concerned about, so we can address that need with something like this. It's a problem-solving issue. I don't think it's a cheating issue or anything. So with that in place, he felt like he could do that, really confident. He wanted to come through for the rest of the team, rest of the group. Super. Yeah, so that was really exciting. And they were able, not all the members were, this is a tricky one. The Hunger Games one has so much, it's 15 kids or something in this one scene. So it really is hard to kind of get everybody together on board. But this is another one where we can work on those scenes, the dialogue scenes, more in isolation and bring them together. And that's what they did. They focused on that. They also worked on some design choices, filling out our big master tech need kind of chart thing that we have for them to fill in and be responsible for what they need. They do have a lot of big ideas, though. So we're going to see. Right now, I'm put them all in, and then we'll see if we have to scale anything back. I'm hoping not. We're going to have to get creative on how they want to do some things, like the volcano, things like that. A lot of lights and sound. But it's actually, I like that there's a lot going on there, because it gives them a lot to think about and a lot of ways they can kind of, innovatively solve this. So that'll be good. The big scene on this particular day was dead memes. Dead memes, yeah. Oh, yes. These were the kids that really were struggling even getting on the same page of what their scene was, what was going to be happening in it, who's saying what lines. I would call her the head writer, really foresaw a big dance sort of scenario where like everybody's singing lines and it's very sassy and all of this, and the boys were like, I don't know that.
I don't think so.
So we had to really kind of figure that one out, but we did. So based on our last meeting that we talked about, we did a lot of script work, a lot of clarification.
Yes.
I tidied up the script. I had to step in to do that. Like I just, with my ability, they weren't gonna be able to kind of physically type the way that it needed to look and be and whatever. So, so I kind of tweaked their doc a little bit in the sense of just making it very user-friendly so that everybody understood and knew what their role was and who was saying what and what was sung, what was not, all that kind of stuff. But so they had these scripts now. I gave them to them. That was very exciting. They were able to like work with them.
Okay.
However,
There's a but.
There's a but. I as we know, we want the kids to direct. We want the kids to be in charge. So like they had their scripts and I'm sort of going around and I'm checking in. And the trend that I was seeing within this particular scene was that either everybody wanted to direct or nobody wanted to direct. Ooh. Which is really hard to get anything done in that context. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm going to work with this group today. We're going to really hone in and focus on this scene, and we're going to get something on the stage and up and doing and anything, so that we can't sit around a table and read this anymore. We've got to get up and moving. So that's what we did. We started to block. We started to make really solid decisions. It wasn't me telling them, you go here, you go here. It was me saying, okay, good, what's next? Okay, good, one at a time. Let's listen, you go. Guiding the conversation, helping them to communicate, helping them to land their plane and make a decision, things like that. That's the way that I facilitate.
That's right.
Yeah, and if there is, and then of course there are moments where like maybe there are better choices to be made. So as their teacher, then I could say, well, that's great. We can also do this and this, if this is the feel you're trying to go for, and don't forget to turn out. There's things, of course, this is still teachable moments the whole time.
Yes,
so yes. I'm not just going to let necessarily, if it's not functional, it's their decision maybe, but okay, we can make maybe a stronger decision. So then I'll step in to give guidance on how they can do that. Mm-hmm. They don't have to take my suggestions, but they're there for them to create a stronger sense of what they're trying to show or create. We don't believe that there's going to be a dead meme chorus, or at least we're opening our mind to the fact, or at least being okay with the fact that might not happen.
Okay.
Reasons are there's just too much going on for other members to also then have to layer this on top of what they're already doing. Yeah. It's also not necessary, like if they all just throw themselves into this, and if we design this well, if they give it the lights, the sound that they want, and create interesting set, elements, like they won't need it. I don't think they're going to need it. But they understand that it may not be a possibility, and they're actually okay with that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the lead writer especially, she's been very flexible, which I've been appreciating. Yes. She's a lot more seasoned. She works with other groups outside of school, and she's actually showing a lot of patience because the other members in her group are not quite as seasoned. So there's a big discrepancy there, a pretty big difference. Yes. But that's okay. I mean, if anything, it's going to lift the others up, which is great because she's modeling pretty well on how do we listen, how do we do, where do we stand. So that's great. If anything, it's going to lift the rest of them up. So that's kind of where we're at with all of our various scenes. So yeah.
Well, it looks like then some are really taking shape.
Yes, some definitely are.
And others are having a bit of a harder time.
Yeah.
But the good news, finally, is that the kids are really starting to come see Allie outside of the regular rehearsals, and we anticipate that will really pay dividends.
Yeah.
We've been pushing for it, but
it has to.
Hopefully, and we'll be able to report that to you as well. So on to the May 10th showcase workshop. Allie opened this particular meeting with a discussion about determining set needs. And she asked the kids to look in their closets for costumes and props and so forth, and anything they can't find themselves, to please let Allie know so that she can obtain them in whatever ways she needs to in time for the showcase. And again, luckily, like the last time, they got right to work.
They did.
And let's find out what they were able to accomplish during this workshop.
Yes. Well, we did not accomplish the opening scene because there's
Still on
it
hold.
might just be a speech. We're gonna see. It's
Right.
probably we'll see. Okay. Okay. So we'll go a little bit backwards. So dead memes, right? They did fully cast all their roles, and we have decided there's not going to be a meme chorus. They're going to work with what they have, which actually is going to be better, way better, contained. You know, they can like make every element that they have strong because everyone is just in control of themselves, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah. The lead writer was absent though.
Oy.
So we're moving. The train started to go last time, and now it's kind of like wah wah. But they struggled. They struggled without her. And that was obvious. I mean, they didn't know. They were wandering around. I was like, guys, I'm like, what are you doing? Get it together. Like, you don't need her. There's someone, or pull someone else to read. Like, you can manage this. You can do this. They really struggled. Like, they had a hard time. They weren't really sure what to do. I gave them a lot of most of my attention at the last session. I had to spread myself out this time.
Right.
I put them, they did do some like scenic stuff, scene design, things like that. But it was not very productive. They didn't really rock out as much as I'd hoped that they would. But that's okay. It's where they're at.
And maybe what between your description of the last Dead Memes rehearsal and this one, I guess, shows both the pros and the cons of having a very, very strong seasoned member juxtaposed with lots of green kids. When she's present, it can be potentially super productive, but when she's absent, it can fall apart. Yeah. So it sounds like that's what you're describing.
Yeah, and I know that the rest of the group were concerned about making decisions without her, but I also said, well, you need to just make decisions. They can always be altered or changed a little bit, but we need to get that structure in. So they did continue to practice what they had blocked previously, things like that. They worked on some of the sets and costume ideas, lighting concepts, things like that that they wanted to create that they thought could be great to include. But yeah, I'm still waiting to see if this one's gonna, like, how it ends.
Right.
I know it ends in the script. How's it gonna end on the stage?
Exactly.
We'll see. Let's see. The audition, they are fully blocked. But they haven't stitched it together yet. They haven't yet, as far as I know, they have not yet run it like from beginning to end with everybody there yet, which makes me nervous. Again, I know they're going to be good. That this group, I've said all along, I know like they're going to get it together. But I know they're now starting to feel that anxiety of like, we don't really know. We don't know how to fine tune this. We want to kind of like see how it's going to shake out or whatever. So now they're starting to get nervous, and I was like, well, tell your people to show up. Like that's kind of part of it, a little bit. So at that point, I'm not against saying something like that, because really, clearly my words are not as effective sometimes getting them to show up in these extra days as they needed to be. So at this point now, anything that the peers can get each other to do is really probably going to be even more effective. So, okay, so let's see. We have Hunger Games, again, not everybody was there, and they were trying to do a battle scene, which they don't have completely done. And they're learning how hard it is when people aren't there. This literally isn't something that they can do piecing it together, the battle scenes, because they have a scene partner, there's combat, there is choreography, all of that has to come together. So they're now starting to feel the heat a little bit, wondering what's going to happen. They did work on the smaller scenes. I've seen some of it, and that's the one group I would say that has come to me the most. We had the girls with the writing in the very beginning. We did the script arc. I did meet with this group to do some of these smaller scenes, and now they're just continuing to strengthen them, which is what they can do, and it's the right choice for them at this point. Deciding what can we do? We're going to do it. We're going to do it as best as we can. So they did work on a lot of the smaller scenes, and they're looking pretty good. They're able to actually take it to a little bit of a next level now, and really kind of think more deeply besides just memorizing, walking around, and having these superficial kind of interactions. They're able to kind of think more about the character, create some histories, which has been really nice. And also they too are working with their set designs and choices and a lot of tech, and it's going to be very teched out, which is cool, which is awesome. Again, we always have to keep that mind open of like what's going to stay, what's going to go, and being okay when things have to fly away. Like it's
right.
You have to let go what needs to kind of fly away, so that those other ideas can become stronger in effect. And and they understand that, which is actually great. I'm not like worried about them emotionally in that sense, like the attachment issue there. Like they're going to be fine with that.
Right.
Yeah, the game show girls had to leave early again. So, and I like that scene, and it's a bummer that they keep not doing it. And now it's not just them. They have now pulled in, other cast members. They have fully cast their scene. So now we have other people being like, well, are we doing it or not? So I keep having these like non-actual people, like they're not actual people, they're actual people. I've had readers fill in for them. So the other people in the scene, they're working and they're developing it. To the degree that they can without who they feel are the lead writers. Right. But I also spoke to those girls and I said, listen, this train's going to roll. Like, you're going to have to just keep up with it and jump on board. And if they make a decision, you can discuss and potentially change it. But also, it's like at this point, like, you just keep missing and missing. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, jump on board wherever you are here at, because that's probably what's going to be happening at this point. You've got to be here more, do what you need to do to make that happen, and don't be upset or surprised if you come back next time when you come and things are different, right. Or things seem so far ahead and you're not off book, and get off book, learn your lines. You might feel these comparisons start to come out a little bit more, and you got to maybe recognize that, pull your weight a little bit more. So we are going to meet on the following Monday. We are going to meet with them. And one of the girls was like, I won't remember. I'm like, write it down. So, and she's young. They're young. They're young. And again, I don't think many of the younger kids are used to working like this. So I recognize that. I do recognize that. And it's not a terrible thing. This is an opportunity for them to learn these things. But, they do need to hear someone tell them, okay, write it down. This is how we keep an appointment, which is okay. They're 11. It's not like they're super, they're not seniors in high school. Maybe they haven't had to do this in this way yet, so that's okay. But I'm learning that we do need to be kind of reminded in these ways, which is interesting. Yes, Foiled Grandma. They have a really nice dynamic, the two of them. I'm watching them rehearse. They're having a lot of fun. They're fleshing out their scene. Yeah, they do need to kind of. I have not seen the scene. They do need to actually do the whole scene with all members. I believe they're fully cast. I'm pretty positive I think we were fully cast. Yes, they are fully cast, but not everybody was there. So they weren't able to run through the entire thing. But I have seen their parts where it's just the two of them, and it's really cute. So that's going to, hopefully we'll pull that one together. Okay. And open mic, they are, as before, they're fully blocked. They're memorizing their lines. At this point now, they need to bring it to the next level. They need to really start working on the dynamics, They're between the three of them. Oh, there's three of them. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because it is like a comedy act. So, and the trick with a comedy act like this is that you're trying to make it look, and we've talked about this, making it look spontaneous and like it's on the fly and all of this. Yeah. But the way that you make that, and especially in like a comedy routine, the way that you make that look realistic and strong is by really rehearsing it a lot.
It's paradoxical, but true.
It's true. Or at least the quality of the relationship that they're trying to cultivate, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I want them up and doing and doing it in front of other kids and all of this kind of stuff like that. So that's kind of what they're up to and the level at which I want them to kind of push themselves. Like, let's take this out definitely off the page for sure. Let's not worry about which one comes next. Even if we skip a joke or something, that's fine. I want you to play now. Like, let's build that together. Yes. I think that's all we got to do that day. Yeah, that was it. I mean, it's most of them. Yeah, we didn't do the opening. Yeah,
exactly. And I see that the absence of a lot of the individual members really hindered the ability of nearly every group to really move forward and pull their scenes together with cohesion and flow.
Yeah.
So again, coming back to the issue of attendance having quite a substantial impact on the process. So given what you saw in this May 10th workshop, how at this point would you assess the progress of the groups coming out of this workshop relative to where you feel they should be at the moment?
Well, all the scenes should be fully blocked, fully cast, really rolling, really like making things for their scenes, costuming. They're not there yet. Not one scene is where they should be. I would love also to have all the scenes be done like panto. We don't have to have all the items and pantomime all of the different actions and stuff, but I would really love for them to start getting a flow like of the actual what the showcase will be, doing one scene followed by the next, casually, because we're still not in our space yet. We're still like in the cafeteria, whatever, which is actually a really good working space in what we're doing. It's a big spread out. It's almost easier than the stage, to be honest, at this point. But it would be really lovely to be able to see all of the scenes. Any of them would be great.
Oh my.
That'd be fun. We also should have our design fairly established. We may not have procured and pulled and created yet, but like what we know we need, that needs to be done. And when scenes aren't fully done, you don't know what you need necessarily, because who knows? Right. You're going to make a cross later and pick up something. Oh, have some water. And that wasn't in the script yet, so we don't know. We're going to see. Exactly. So that,
Exactly.
And certainly the kids should be off book. I have some scripts that are still being worked out.
Wow.
So we are not where we should be. We're not really hitting the benchmark at this point. This is so important right now, why we need to be where I just described where we should be, where we could potentially, pantoing everything, and maybe we're calling, line a little bit, but literally having the scenes kind of run at least, and maybe still practicing over there, but I can call one over, right? Show me what you got, all right, good job, off you go. Show me what you got, okay, good job, off you go. That should be able to be happening, because when we do have tech, when we do move into our space, we have to move a show done, ready, into a new space, and then layer everything on top. We do not have the time to still be working things out in the acting, blocking, learning lines department. We just don't have the time. So that really definitely has me super concerned.
Understandably.
I know I'm preparing myself for adjusting my expectations, which is a challenge for me, definitely. I don't love that, but I'm in this process too. I have to definitely keep my own mind open and my own heart open to what it will be, and and love it with open arms when we get to that point. Nurture it for whatever it's going to end up being, because I don't know what it will be based on where we're at right now. So yeah, it's having that faith that we talked about, just trusting in the process, keep pushing, keep going, keep doing, and bringing them along with me, and also staying with them where they're at, meeting them where they're at too.
Exactly. And as I hear you describe these dynamics, I think back to conversations that I have had with other artists in the performing arts, and experiences that are somewhat similar to what you described. So I'm wondering, do you think many artists in collaborative genres essentially wrestle with similar dynamics? Because the vast majority, I think, really start with an initial vision and a broad strokes outline, but then flesh out their work with their collaborators as the process progresses. And the many contextual challenges combined with the unique challenges for each individual collaborator makes the process unpredictable, really by definition. So no one can know in advance how all of these different elements are going to come together to impact the work. So I suspect that the expectations of any choreographer or any director, for example, would have to shift over time and really be based on what emerges during the process. But of course, knowing that this is part of the deal is one thing, but having to go through it and tolerate it, I would imagine, is another.
Yeah, it's definitely stressful. I mean, there's a huge difference, though, too, between, like, what I'm doing and like, a professional theater. What I mean, like, Broadway, they're meeting their benchmarks. Like, if you don't, like, I don't know, I guess you're fired, maybe. I don't really know. But, like, I do feel, at least, like, because I'm in an educational environment, it is different. I mean, a little bit. There's a lot more wiggle room there. It doesn't make my anxiety any less. It doesn't make me any less stressed about having to be adaptable in that way, where it really does kind of come down to, like, you might have one idea about something and something has to completely change because of the variables involved. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. It's it's like what we're doing here. That is this program is kind of like feeding it and then seeing what comes up and then nurturing what grows, you know what I mean? But at the same time, those benchmarks that kind of are necessary, like, that's not easy to deal with. That's definitely not a comfortable thing, there's a lot that I know that I can do maybe to kind of help alleviate some of that, but I don't know that's for this year. I just a lot of food for thought for next year. And again, I don't even know what solutions might really be like solid solutions, but at least I have a lot to think about for next year, so that we can make sure we hit some of these benchmarks a little more comfortably than we are currently. Yeah.
And hang on, because in a subsequent videocast, we're going to take a look at that a little bit more in depth. But for now, we have our last showcase workshop of this videocast, which took place on Monday, May 13th. And right before the workshop, fortunately, Allie ran into one of the mentors and grabbed that person who willingly joined for this particular workshop, and I think made a huge difference in how everything played out. So that was quite fortunate and serendipitous.
Extra hands, always welcome.
Exactly. And again, Allie reminded the kids about pulling their costumes and props, and I need that list of everything that you need and don't have in order to have it ready for the show. So,
and that's actually what this mentor, I ended up having him do. I was like, he's actually very interested in fashion and things like that. He's in my high school drama club, doesn't have a huge ton of experience, but he's really enthusiastic and really supportive of like what we're doing, and he's great with the kids. So he was able to help them kind of come to some decisions about like costuming and things like that, which was super helpful.
So with that, can you share with us once again the highlights of developments within these scene groups?
Okay, audition. Kids, they're doing great. They, they still don't know that they've really sewn it all together, but I now have seen all the different parts, and I know that they're going to work. So, okay, we're good. And they worked on their tech stuff. They worked on adding, what music they're going to need and what all their costumes will be, and so they're really solid. They're like, they just had to like get this stuff now, which is great. And we'll be pulling some things from our resources that we have in our building, and kids also, like you had mentioned, will look at their own stuff, or even like create and make things too, if that's necessary, which I like when that happens. I love when they can make their own things. It's really fantastic. Let's see, dead memes had to assist them again. We got further along,
Okay.
you know. But boy, oh boy, was it challenging because we finally had everybody there, like all the people that were in it, which that was maybe possibly a first, if maybe just maybe a second. But I think that other time was like the writing portion, not even up on their feet yet. So yeah, we did continue with where we left off. Okay. We finished the blocking for the most part. And it was just so hard because they needed so much of my focus. They were struggling to focus. There were some younger groups there. We've had this issue. We've talked about the focus issue. It's been really challenging for this group for whatever reason, different variables. So my attention, my focus, all of myself was so fragmented the whole time. I'm trying to go like this, and then kids are coming up to me, asking me. Thing is they're not asking me bad questions. They're literally productive questions, but then my brain stops doing this, has to do this, listen, what's the thing, answer that, yes, you can do that, go over here, or great idea, thank you for checking in, or you don't need to check in with me about that, whatever the case might have been.
But needed to be addressed, nonetheless.
But yeah, so that was just really, really hard. The interruptions were really hard. It was a good example of, like, I really sometimes feel like I just need, like, more of me sometimes. But this, again, was great that my mentor was there because there probably would have been a lot more of that if he wasn't there. And the questions they were asking me were things I know that this person could not have answered, so he probably directed them over to me. But I'm sure he was fielding a lot for me. Taking that off of my hands, which is great. Let's see. Hunger Games. Again, those dialogue scenes are going to be awesome because they're really working them. And I think that they will be. I'm seeing them. I'm watching them, and they're going to be great. But yeah, again, it's like, holy moly, we can't get them all together because they really do have a whole lot of kids in it. And they've started their tech needs. And that's going to be a doozy, too. Like, this is going to be a full ensemble endeavor between on stage and backstage.
Right.
It really will be. But I saw that, and I knew that, and I think we even talked about that from the beginning. Like, this is going to be the biggie.
Yes.
Which is great. Not a bad thing. I think I really wanted to have something that wasn't just like an opening that would be, we're going to keep it simple, like we talked about, kind of just doing like a mock meeting, doing what they already know. I want the whole cast also to kind of be involved in something complex that they do really have to band together, if you will, to make it happen and really see and feel the difference between when we're not all in versus we're all in. And this is a vehicle for that. So we're going to, so we'll see. But it is going to be tricky to get the battle scenes up because that is the choreography and that's challenging. And, there's like a bunch of kids with like fake swords and weapons. So there does need to be some choreography. Just go at it. Put an eye out. We'll see. It'll be all right. Crossing our fingers. A game show. All right. Interesting. This was kind of really interesting. My mentor worked with them for characterizations, which is what we had talked about, which is great. And he did actually get some nice things going with them. He reported back that the kids that were reading very flatly before were now starting to give it a little texture. They're playing with like silly robot voices, their movements, things like that. How do they want to be? So that's really good. So they are on their way with that. The odd thing was that once we had our warm up and then we broke into the working groups or whatever, this particular group was kind of still just sitting around with their scripts on like around a table, and I was like, "What you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're rehearsing." I go, "Oh, rehearsing is like you should be up standing where you're going to be on the stage," and I was just like really surprised because not everybody in that group is green. So maybe they were just kind of chilling. They weren't really feeling the heat a little bit. And that is when I put my mentor on that group. And I was like, take them out over there in that hole, set them up. I said, this is the blocking that they've told me so far. It's like 2 on this side, 3 on that side, blah, 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 blah. This is how it is. Okay. Set it, make that happen. Get them up on their feet. And so he did do that with them. And again, he really was a huge help with that. Wow. He helped with characterization in that one. He helped with structure. He also helped with motivation, with getting them to understand a little bit more about what's called on the kids themselves to be doing right now to internalize this. We can't internalize if we're just sitting around talking about it or sitting around reading something. You internalize it, at least on the stage, and I know everybody has a different process, but in my experience with kids, it's like you got to get it in the body a lot of the time.
Yes,
especially this group, they're very energetic, so it's like we got to get it in the body and like make it part of their movement, very kinesthetic, and that's the part of the memory. It all comes together, it's all the kinesthetic with the language itself. It all comes together once you're actually doing it. It doesn't stick when you're just sitting around talking about it.
Right.
And then we had a foiled grandma. One of the two girls was not there, so that was really challenging. Can't really do it. You can't really do it. So, they didn't really do much on that, which means I had one student who was not really in much else. So she floated around a bit, and I kind of tried to give her little jobs to do, but that guts me, because when I have someone who their time is not being used effectively, like, that is not fair to them. It's not fair to the overall production. And I just don't ever want a kid like sitting around. So I always try and like find a job or do something, or you're going to sit here with me and you're going to type this up, or you're going to be on book for that scene, or I'll give them something.
Right.
But I would of course rather have had the scene be worked on. So that one really didn't.
Now.
Yeah, that one really didn't get worked on. And again, open mic. I believe the boys were at sports and came back after. They're doing great. They're doing really great. They're having a good time, and that warms my heart. That makes me really happy. So
that's great. So it's always great to have one that's really come together nicely.
You need to have at least one. You need to have
Oh.
something to anchor yourself to. That's like, this is going well. So that was good. That was really good.
Well, I think it's going to now be particularly interesting to see how all of this comes together or not during Tech Week. And that is sort of split up because of vacation time. It doesn't run through a Monday through Friday, but rather starts, sort of midweek to midweek. But we will certainly bring you up to date with each individual scene, and then how they are coming together one way or another. And we'll likely do a video cast on the entire Tech Week. So grab your coffee and your snacks and settle in for a long one for that. But we really hope to present it in a way that will enable you to feel as if you are right there with the kids and with Allie, bringing a show together. So we thank you for joining us once again this evening, and here's to Tech Week next week. Have a good evening.
Bye.